Welcome, loves, to another episode of my podcast that's fun with me. Today, we're going to be talking about AI, and I want to address certain issues in today's podcast because I think it's important. I was watching one of the latest videos from Jen Love, and she's a great YouTuber that is getting us all in the loop of what is happening in makeup industry or in makeup in general. That is the reason why I was watching my weekly portion of news, when I found out about this new trend for companies to actually do a shady business with different types of influencers and making sure that they can include certain terms in contract to make it work in their benefits, but the terms are crazy. So if you heard something about this AI new tools or AI influencers, this is going to be in today's podcast. We're going to be talking about this in particular, and I really want to bring attention to as many people as possible, as well as many creators out there as possible, because I think this is worth addressing. A couple of years ago, probably some of you know that a lot of actors as well as musicians, they were on strike because different companies and labels, they try to use the voices of the celebrities, as well as they try to generate a lot of content with their faces in order to create and generate, let's say, more money for the company but less money for an artist. And of course, people didn't actually like it because it's definitely going through the point where you're stealing someone's voice, you're stealing the identity, you're stealing the intelligence in some ways. That is the main reason why people didn't really like this idea. And now we're talking about influencers. A lot of companies, they found this very tempting opportunity to find AI generated influencers, and they even try to invest their money in this type of influencers that are generated with the help of AI. And you can do it yourself. You can use certain tools, AI tools, to create your person. You can even choose the person that's going to promote your product, and you don't really have to promote it yourself. You just have to generate an image and then put it out there. The main problem is that a lot of people, they don't really have any opportunity to say that they're not going to be participating in this product. For example, Love Island, that was all over internet, all over TikTok in particular, because there was some sort of kind of like story, heartbreaking, where girl, she was sharing some videos where she was going to a Love Island, and she was going through certain producers' terms when she was told that her body image wasn't enough for Love Island show. And then she had to get her body in the perfect shape, and then realize that only certain products helped her to achieve this beautiful and perfect body. And a lot of different pages, they had this similar, let's say, story to tell, but it wasn't Love Island. It was so many more different projects, but the person that was saying this was the same. And this girl, she came out on TikTok and she said that I have never participated in the show. I have never, took my chances to participate in the show. And she said that in 2019, she was 17. So she wasn't even qualified to participate in the show. That was the main reason why, someone took her image and they put this in an AI generator and they created the story with this person without a consent of this person. Who are we going to be blaming for this? I mean, when someone is getting this page out there and this AI generated person, you kind of get an impression that probably someone is in charge of it. And you're right, someone is. But it's so difficult to find this person because most of the time you don't really know who was creating this content, who is up to this thing. I guess maybe the brand owner, but is it actually possible? Because we don't really have any legislation or no, I guess, legal system to prevent this type of stealing. And this is identity stealing from my point of view. AI generated influencers, it's one point because they're very, very popular right now. One of them that is super hyping, it is Aitana Lopez and Emma something. So the first one is the Lopez is from Spain, kind of like Spain. Then the second AI generated influencer, Emma, is from South Korea. And people are saying that a lot of companies, they're interested in investing in this influencers, AI generated influencers, because they're paying less, but it's still, the content is hyping, the content is very popular, it's going viral, and companies, they're interested in saving money. But look at the point where it's getting a little bit more shady and a little bit more interesting. Of course, a lot of these companies, I believe, they try to invest in this new model of AI generated influencers, but at the same time, if you're in the beauty space, will you ever trust an AI generated influencer in terms of skincare or makeup products? I bet you won't, because first and foremost, AI can create a radiant skin. It can create beautiful makeup. It can create anything for you guys, but how realistic is this? Because the brand is willing to pay for this, and maybe this is the shittiest product in the market, but AI generator is going to create is from the point of view like this is the best for your skin, and your skin is going to be very beautiful and glowy. A lot of people are not willing to trust AI. That is the main reason why here comes the shadiest thing that coming from a lot of the companies. Some influencers, they're open about the brand deals that are sharing these brands with the audience. Some people, they're not sharing because I feel like these brands and specifically companies, they're so big and they're huge, more like conglomerates. That is the main reason why a lot of these influencers, they're afraid to share the name of the company, but still they're not afraid to speak up and say why they declined this offer. So let me read the term, or specifically the point of the contract that raised my eyebrows to the highest point of my face. I'm going to read it first, and then we're going to dissect it so you will get an idea what the company is actually looking for and what this company really wants from this influencer. Subject to the terms of the applicable campaign brief, you grant to the brand an exclusive, except for the rights are granted herein, worldwide, royalty-free, fully paid up, transferable, sub-licensable, perpetual, irrevocable license to copy, display, upload, distribute, store, modify, upload as input into any AI generative tools, and for any AI usage and otherwise use any content that you upload, transfer, or post using the services or other use in connection with a gig. So what they're asking from this influencer in particular, it's just a small point from the contract, but very, very, very important. I started dissecting all of this, and I started with like, okay, so worldwide, it's pretty obvious, like it's going to be for every country that this content is produced. Then royalty free means that if you have content and the company is willing to use this content, they are not going to pay you every single time for using your content. For example, if you have something interesting like a video that they want to share in their ad campaign, every single ad campaign they're going to be doing with your promo or with your video, they have to pay you. But if you're talking about royalty free, that means that every single campaign they're going to be posting with your image or with this ad or whatever you get them, they're not going to pay you anything. Then we're going to be going to fully paid up. Fully paid up means that, for example, you're willing to do a campaign for them, and they are saying that we're not going to be using, just like in every ad, but for example, we want your content for one ad only, and we're going to pay you, for example, like $20,000. We're paying you $20,000, and this content belongs to us. So they're not willing to pay that amount as well. So they're not willing to pay you for using this multiple times. They're not willing to pay you at all. And then they're going to be transferable, means that they can give your content to other companies and they can sell this content to other companies as well without you getting paid, or specifically your influencer. Then sub-licensable. That is very interesting. Sub-licensable is a little bit different from licensable. So licensable is when you are the owner, for example, of a property or the content, for example, as well. And then you give the right to use something for a company to use your property. Yeah. And this company is not allowed to share this with anyone else. But sub-licensable means that this company is allowed to share the content without your permission with any other company that is looking for your face or whatever. So they're basically owning license and rights on your content. The only thing is that I don't understand, do they own this license and rights for a particular video that they're going to be giving them, or they're going to get it for your image and your voice and your identity? Because if it's for the identity, you're definitely going to be doomed, because they're going to do whatever they want with your face and with your voice without you letting them, without letting you know about that. So then what we're going to be doing, perpetual, it means forever. And one of the most important point of this, it's irrevocable. Irrevocable license means that you can't break this contract. You can't irrevoke it. You can't make sure that people in 20 years are going to be able to dismiss the contract, or you're not going to be able to go to a court and make sure that they're not going to have any rights over you. So you're basically selling yourself forever. And then what they mentioned, later that they can copy and display so they can actually show this on their platforms or any other platforms or the platforms of the companies they're going to sell this product to or your content to. Then they're going to upload or distribute so they can do whatever they want with this content, store it so they can keep it until it's more or less relevant to them, and modify. So the modify is the craziest part. For example, you have a content when you're saying this is the best skincare for you if you have, for example, oily skin. But if you have dry skin, this is not the best product for you. And the problem here that you said these words out loud, but with the AI generated, I don't know, tools, they can say this is the perfect product for you with any type of skin, for oily and for dry skin. And even if you didn't say that, they have a right to modify your content. And this is the worst part, guys, because they can say whatever they want from your mouth, from you as a person and creator, and they can do this with AI tools. And a lot of the companies, they're like, oh, you know what? It's just a standard practice right now for every influencer out there. We're doing this all over internet because, for example, the sound isn't good. So we want to just refilm it with the same text that we offered. And this way, we're going to be able to make sure that you are going to sound better. And that is the main reason why we want to get all the rights to this content. But it's not about that, guys. They literally said that it's irrevocable and they literally said that it's permanent, yeah? And the worst part that they can modify it. And not only modify, but they still said that they can transfer this information and they're not going to pay you for that. This is the worst part. You're literally just going to be the slave for not only this company, but for any other company that's going to buy rights to your content and you're not even going to be benefited for it. So what it's going to do for this influencer, it's gonna rip apart the credentials of the person. For example, you get paid, for example, like $1 million. But if you try to break this down, that this company is gonna sell your content and your identity to other companies for we don't know how much money, then you're losing so much money because these companies, the future companies, they're not gonna be needing to ask you for permission. They're not gonna pay you anything. So you're probably just like stuck with this $1 million, I don't know, or maybe $50,000 depending on. And that's it. This is the final act for you. Because if you try to recreate yourself in different platforms, they actually can do this worldwide. For example, Red Note, this is a Chinese platform and it's very popular in China. This company, they can actually sell it to China or Chinese brands and they're going to recreate this content with your face, with your voice over Red Note or YouTube. They can create it over YouTube. They can create it anywhere else. And whenever you try to build your name again or try to, just create a different channel, when people are going to see you, they're like, she's selling the weirdest stuff. And by the way, if they can transfer the license or the rights to your content, maybe the next day you're going to wake up and see yourself in a commercial for like pooping or diarrhea or whatever that is definitely not related to the content you've ever posted on your channel. This is the worst part, and that is the reason why I really want to drag your attention. And I just like, please do not sell out. Because your subscribers, they're not going to stay for a good amount of time if they know that it's not even you, it's AI generated influencer with your face and with your voice because you sold yourself. And people would guess eventually when there's going to be a legislation or something, when they're going to be needing to put out there the fact that this is AI generated image. And I hope that this legislation is going to come out sooner or later because it's going to protect your identity from thieves or from AI generated content. So I really hope that it's going to be out there soon enough. But for now, we don't really have it. So we don't really know which company purchased this influencer in a way and purchased the identity of this influencer, and that this company will definitely use it in their own advantage. And what are the risks? A lot of people are praising this concept like, yeah, we can create this influencers and we don't really need the influencers, but let's see this from a little bit different angle. For example, a real influencer, I'm not talking about influencers they're, recommending every single product, even if it's a bad product. I'm talking about real influencers that if they don't like some product and you know that you can trust this influencer, they're going to say, this is the worst product, yeah? So what's going to create? Let's say we're not going to have any more human influencers. We're going to have only AI influencers. How is it different from commercials that used to be popular in 80s or 90s or early 2000s, where you're literally just hiring an actor who is saying the lines like, oh, look at my beautiful hair. They look so glossy. They look perfect. and you don't know, should you trust this? Because this actor was paid to say these words and to sell you the product. But why influencers had become so popular in 2016? Because they were saying a lot of things that were true, and they were recommending some products and they were not recommending. And again, I know there were a sellout, influencers, a bunch of sellout influencers out there in 2016, and there's still a lot of them, especially in TikTok. But there's still a lot of influencers that treasure their reputation and they're willing to say very true, I guess, to core things about company and their new products. For example, I'm a huge fan of Essence products and I'm a huge fan of Catrice products, but at the same time, I know that some of these products, they're a hit and some of the products are a miss. And when it's a miss, I just put this out there, especially a year ago, I posted a video where I was talking about a dewy eyegloss eyeshadows. And when I tested this product, it was really bad. So when I got a lot of comments from people like, oh, I purchased that, I wish I watched this review earlier, because they didn't know if they messed up and this product should work, but maybe they don't know how to use it, or they just wanted to watch this review without purchasing some shitty product that's gonna lay on the shelf and they're not gonna be able to use it. That is the main reason why we do need people, human influencers, to make sure that we can test this, we can try this on and say our opinion. Before AI generated influencers, they're going to sell you anything because they're programmed to say that this is the best product they've ever seen. For example, I saw a little bit different influencer talking about the new tendency. It's GPT, I guess, chat generator that is doing a really long dash when they're creating some texts. And a lot of creators, they're not huge fans of this huge dash. Whenever you see a TikTok story with a lot of text, if you see this long dash, most of the time this is AI generated text as well as AI generated content. This was the story about a woman that she divorced her husband, and then when she divorced her husband, she started inviting over a lot of people from all over the place, and specifically different students from different countries. And she had this beautiful family with numerous kids, and they were not able to have kids through their life, so that she just had a full life of opportunities. But then out of nowhere, there was a promotion of some supplements, and specifically some just that are going to calm down your nervous system. And you're like, it's integrated smoothly and weirdly. And then you start looking and scrolling the video and the photo. You're starting looking for some new photos and videos of this content, and you're like, okay, so why is this person's face so symmetrical? Why is the hand so unreal? It's just the shape of the hand is weird, and the skin is too perfect, as well as when you're scrolling this content, you see that the face is slightly different from a different photo and a different photo. It's not actually that common for humans to have different faces on different posts. And I understand that a lot of companies, they try to save their money and they don't really want to pay a lot of money to influencers, but let's break this down. For example, if I'm mistaken, Jaclyn Hill, in one of her videos, it was a long time ago, she said that she shares a lot of Amazon links, and every single time she shares a link, there's a huge boost in sales. And she said that I'm not going to recommend the product if companies would do the thing that she hates the most when they get the prices up, triple the prices, to sell the product that was so much cheaper when she recommended this product. And she was like, so companies, you are not willing to pay influencers, but whenever influencer is promoting this product, you are actually willing to earn out of it an extreme amount of money. So if you're relying on influencers, then just pay these influencers. You know what I'm talking about is that, is it the only one, only companies should earn money? And what about the rest of the people? Let's talk about the economy of this all. For example, I talked about this right at the beginning of my podcast. Musicians and artists, they try to fight it back, and if I'm mistaken, they were more or less successful. Now, influencers, they have the same issue with companies, and please do not sign this contract if you see that you have to sell your soul and your identity. Now, let's move on to a little bit different kind of story here, is that when there are going to be more professions that will be substituted with AI generation. There are going to be more people out there without a job. So if you don't have a job, you don't have income. If you have no income, you're not going to be able to spend money. And by the way, you're not going to be able to spend money on buying the products from the companies. They're using AI generated influencers, okay? So you're not going to be able to pay taxes because you're actually not buying anything. And their companies, they're, just when the majority of population is unemployed it's more or less obvious that we're not going to be able to buy products. And a lot of these companies, they're going to suffer. So what you're creating here is a new problem. That's a new problem for the entire government itself and tax problem. So, I mean, again, in 20 years, for example, we're not talking about influencers, we're not talking about artists, but you can see that gradually this is going to masses. If you're an IT specialist, then you're not going to be irreplaceable. I bet a lot of AI tools in the future, they're going to make sure that you don't really need 20 IT specialists. You need only one who's going to supervise the AI tool that's going to do this and generate for the IT specialist. For example, if they're going to be a call system, yeah, they're going to be people that are answering your calls and the support system, yeah, and they're like, okay, we have robots, we have AI generated, programs that are going to answer this question, so we don't really need that much people that are going to answer the phone. And then, for example, this new program with drivers, a lot of drivers, they're not going to be at use because they're going to be AI generated, I don't know, cars that are going to drive you around, and we can actually see this right now, and so on and so forth. That is the main reason why, like, how you're going to fight the unemployment problem and the problem that people are not going to be able to pay taxes. So only companies are going to earn, but who's going to buy the products from those companies? That's another thing to think of. And let me tell you guys why I think this is not going to sit right with people, at least for additional, I guess, 10, 15 years plus. First and foremost, there's still people out there who are like 30 plus, a lot of 30 plus people that are not okay with AI generated images and product placements. But at the same time, what I think is that was very telling when Vogue in August, if I'm not mistaken, this year, they released a new magazine issue where they were talking about AI generated models. So they were posting this with models, and it didn't really sit well with people. They were resigning their subscription and they were not satisfied. They had a huge backlash for it. First and foremost, like, again, models, are you freaking kidding me? So now you're not going to need models because you're going to have AI generated models for you. And again, we're talking about professions. We're talking about the way you try to substitute humans and you try to take a piece of their bread. You try to take their money. And I know that you might be a hater and you're like, I work 5 times a week and I think all of these musicians, all of these artists and these influencers, they're so screwed and I don't need them. So let's do this AI. So they're not going to be paid because they're flaunting this wealth into my face and I hate them for this. Okay, I totally get it. But let me tell you guys that there's still a lot of models that are not going to be paid as much as Gigi Hadid. A lot of models that are paid small percentage of what Bella Hadid actually earns. So these people are not going to be able to provide for their families as well, even with this tiny percent of money, because, well, they're going to be AI generated images in magazines, or they're not going to be able to go through fashion shows because they're going to be some AI generated person with AI generated clothes. They're going to be going down the runway because this was already there. It was already there. And who knows? Maybe your career is going to be at risk because AI is going to take your place. So think about that. But I think it's pretty telling that Vogue got, backlash for posting this AI generated image with models. And I'm super, super happy for this. I'm super happy that they get an idea that we're not okay with AI generated influencers, models, actors, musicians, and whatever. I want to see a real musician. I want to hear a real musician voice. I really want to hear their thoughts, their talent, their stories. I really want to know the actor who's going to perform with, the full range of emotions, not something that was generated for me. You know what I'm talking about? I need a human to perform that because we live in a society that has to support each other. And it's pretty telling. That is the main reason why, if this was so profitable and so successful to promote your products through AI generated influencers, companies, they would have done this already. And some companies, small brands, they're already doing this with supplements, with other things. But if we're talking about huge companies, tell me, why do they actually want to own my identity? Why? Think about that. They know that people are going to trust only human influencers, especially related to beauty and skincare. So think about this a little bit longer, and knowing that they just want to buy your identity, it's so messed up. It's so crazy. And it's crazy that these companies, they don't have any legislation for that, or at least influencers, they can be protected except for the fact that do not sign this. But I'm not going to be surprised if a lot of companies, they're going to say this is the only way around. Either you are signing the contract this way, or we're not going to pay you at all. And you know what? Screw them. Screw them. One influencer is going to decline, the other one is going to decline, and the other one is going to decline, and they're going to be out of options. They would need to pay you. And selling your identity, it's definitely going to be something about Holston. Have you ever watched Holston from Netflix show? When he sold his name to a company, for some period of time, he was still relevant, and he was a main designer and he owned his own company. But when he started saying like, I don't care, I don't want to do jeans, I don't want to do these, I don't want to do that, the owner of the company that actually bought his surname, and he bought his name, Holston was his surname if I'm not mistaken, he said, you know what, Holston, we don't need you. We're going to hire a designer. We need your name, and we have your name. So go and get some, he got probably like 20% from any sales or something like that. And he said like, you're not going to be able to participate in any decision making. And that was telling. That was really telling. And that is the main reason why I'm going to tell you that do not sell your identity. And please do not sell your name. Even if they're offering you a huge amount of money, like $1 million, like $1 million, do you really want to make sure that someone is going to use you in a shitty commercial and sell you to other companies without you even knowing? I bet you're not going to be able to pass through this without any mental breakdown. That's my point of view. I guess that's it. And unfortunately, it's scary. It's scary that AI is not scary. The scariest part is when this type of companies, they try to use this in their advantage and they try to take advantage of you. Because they're definitely going to be written reviews. They're going to be fake reviews. And I'm pretty much sure that there are a lot of fake reviews right now. But who knows? I love you all so much. And I hope this episode of podcast was telling. And let me know your thoughts, guys. I love you all so much, and I'm going to see you next time. Bye-bye.